Every morning, before the world asks anything from us, our mind asks one silent question. How will you see today? Not what will happen, not who will meet you, not what problems may come, but how you will interpret everything that comes your way. The quality of your day is not decided by the alarm clock, the weather, or your phone notifications. It is decided by the mindset you choose in the first few moments after you wake up. Morning is not just the start of the day, it is the foundation of the day. When the foundation is weak, the structure struggles. If the first thought you entertain is complaint, comparison, or fear, then even small challenges feel heavy. But if the first thought is gratitude, clarity, and intention, even big challenges begin to feel manageable. The mind, when guided early, becomes a powerful ally instead of a restless enemy. Many people wake up physically, but mentally they are still carrying yesterday's arguments, regrets, failures, and worries walk straight into today without permission. The problem is not that yesterday happened. The problem is that we allow it to dominate today. Morning is your chance to gently tell your mind, a thank you for your concern, but today deserves a fresh lens. Letting go is not weakness, it is wisdom. When you change your mindset in the morning, you are not denying reality. You are choosing your response to reality. You are reminding yourself that you cannot control every situation, but you can control the attitude with which you face it. A calm, focused mind does not eliminate problems. It reduces their power over you. Winning the day does not mean everything goes perfectly. It means you stay centered when things go wrong. It means you act with awareness instead of reacting with impulse. A mindful morning helps you respond rather than react, listen rather than assume, and act rather than complain. This inner alignment slowly reflects in your work, relationships, and decisions. Your morning mindset is like setting the direction of a compass. Once set, the journey becomes smoother even if the terrain is rough. When you begin the day with purpose, discipline feels lighter, patience feels natural, and effort feels meaningful. Over time, these small morning choices compound into a powerful life transformation. Remember, success is not only built by big achievements, it is built by small, consistent attitudes. And the most powerful attitude is the one you choose when no one is watching, early in the morning alone with your thoughts. Change your mindset in the morning, and you don't just win the day, you slowly win your life. The way you begin your morning quietly programs the emotional tone of everything that follows. Before the day presents its challenges, conversations, deadlines, or surprises, your mind is already forming expectations. This happens almost unconsciously. The first few thoughts after waking act like instructions given to the mind, telling it how to interpret events for the rest of the day. If those instructions are rushed, anxious, or negative, the mind remains on high alert, searching for problems even when none exist. As a result, small inconveniences feel overwhelming, and neutral situations are often misunderstood as threats or disappointments. When you wake up in a hurry or immediately reach for your phone, you surrender control of your inner world to the outer world. Messages, news, and comparisons invade your mind before you have had a chance to center yourself. This external noise sets a reactive emotional tone, making you feel behind, pressured, or inadequate before the day has even begun. Over time, this habit trains the mind to associate mornings with stress, which then spills into your work, interactions, and decisions. On the other hand, when you consciously shape your morning mindset, you are choosing to lead your day rather than chase it. A few moments of stillness, gratitude, or intention can anchor the mind in calmness. This does not magically remove difficulties, but it changes how they are experienced. A calm mind interprets challenges as tasks to be handled, not as personal attacks. The emotional tone remains steady, allowing you to conserve energy for what truly matters instead of wasting it on unnecessary worry. The emotional quality of your day is also deeply connected to self-talk. In the morning, the mind is especially receptive. Whatever you tell yourself during this time sinks deeper than words spoken later in the day. When the inner dialogue is harsh, critical, or fearful, it creates an emotional background of tension. But when the self-talk is kind, realistic, and encouraging, it builds quiet confidence. This confidence influences how you walk, speak, listen, and respond, often without you even noticing it. A well-directed morning mindset also improves emotional resilience. When the day doesn't go as planned, and it often won't, you are less likely to overreact. Instead of frustration turning into anger or disappointment, turning into self-blame, you maintain balance. This emotional stability is not accidental, it is the result of an intentional start. By setting the emotional tone early, you create a buffer that protects you from being emotionally hijacked by circumstances. Over time, this practice reshapes your personality. You begin to notice that you are more patient in traffic, more composed during difficult conversations, and more focused at work. People may say you seem calmer or more grounded, but the real change happens within. All of this starts with a simple choice made each morning to consciously decide how you want to feel, respond, and show up. When the emotional tone is set with awareness at the beginning of the day, everything that follows aligns more naturally, making the entire day feel lighter, clearer, and more meaningful. The first thoughts that enter your mind after you wake up have a subtle yet powerful influence on how you experience the entire day. At that moment, the mind is not fully occupied with responsibilities, roles, or expectations. It is open, impressionable, and quietly absorbing whatever you feed it. These early thoughts act like a lens placed over your perception. Through that lens, every situation is interpreted, every interaction is filtered, and every challenge is judged. If the lens is clouded with worry or negativity, even positive moments lose their brightness. When the first thought is fear, fear of being late, fear of failing, fear of what others might think, the mind shifts into survival mode. In this state, it becomes defensive and impatient. Simple delays feel unbearable, and minor mistakes feel like major setbacks. The mind begins to assume the worst before anything has actually gone wrong. This pattern is not caused by the events of the day, but by the emotional direction set at the very beginning. A fearful start creates a fearful interpretation of reality. If the first thought is complaint, the mind starts searching for proof to justify that complaint. You may wake up thinking, another long day, and suddenly everything appears tiring. The traffic feels heavier, people seem more irritating, and work feels more demanding. Nothing may have objectively changed, but the interpretation has. The mind is extremely skilled at confirming what it already believes. That is why the first belief of the day carries such weight. It silently instructs the mind on what to notice and what to ignore. Conversely, when the first thought is intentional and grounded, the mind responds with clarity. A simple thought like, I will handle today with patience, or I will do my best and let go of the rest, softens the inner environment. Challenges still appear, but they no longer feel personal. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? The mind asks, what is the best way to respond right now? This shift in questioning changes everything. It transforms stress into responsibility and anxiety into awareness. The influence of early thoughts also extends to how you treat others. A rushed or irritated mental state in the morning often leads to sharp words, assumptions, or emotional distance. But a calm and positive beginning makes you more present. You listen better, react less, and communicate with greater empathy. Relationships, whether at home or work, are deeply affected by this invisible mental starting point. Over time, repeated morning thoughts become habits. The mind learns a pattern and begins to follow it automatically. If the pattern is worry, the day feels heavy. If the pattern is awareness, the day feels lighter. This is not about forcing positivity, but about choosing perspective. You are not pretending that everything is perfect. You are simply choosing not to let the mind run uncontrolled. By consciously guiding the first thoughts of the day, you take responsibility for how you experience life. Events may remain unpredictable, but your inner response becomes unstable. And when your interpretation of situations changes, your emotional experience changes with it. In this way, a single thought in the morning quietly shapes the entire journey of the day, proving that how you think matters just as much as what actually happens. Many people wake up in the morning, but their mind is still living in yesterday. The body moves forward in time, yet the thoughts remain stuck in past conversations, past mistakes, past disappointments, and past regrets. This habit is so common that it feels normal, but it silently drains emotional and mental energy. Yesterday no longer exists in reality, yet it continues to occupy valuable space in the mind, influencing how today is experienced. When yesterday's baggage is carried into the present, the day begins with a sense of heaviness. Unresolved arguments replay in the mind, triggering the same emotions again and again. A mistake that cannot be undone keeps rising, creating self-criticism and guilt. Self-criticism and guilt. Even moments of success from the past can become a burden when they turn into pressure to repeat or surpass them. Instead of starting fresh, the mind starts tired, already overloaded with emotional weight. This mental carryover distorts perception. When the mind is filled with yesterday's emotions, it reacts to today's situations as if they are extensions of the past. A simple comment may feel like an attack because it reminds you of a previous criticism. A small challenge may feel overwhelming because the mind is already exhausted from unresolved worries. The present moment loses its uniqueness and becomes colored by old experiences that may no longer be relevant. Holding on to yesterday also affects decision making. When regret dominates the mind, fear often follows. You may hesitate to take new steps because you are afraid of repeating old mistakes. This fear does not protect you, it limits you. Growth requires clarity, and clarity is impossible when the mind is cluttered with emotional leftovers from the past. Each day offers new possibilities, but they remain unseen when attention is locked backward. Letting go of yesterday does not mean denying what happened or pretending it didn't matter. It means accepting that the lesson has been learned and the experience has served its purpose. The mind often confuses remembrance with usefulness. Just because something happened does not mean it must be mentally revisited every day. Wisdom lies in extracting the lesson and releasing the emotional charge. A fresh morning is an invitation to reset. When you consciously choose to leave yesterday behind, the mind becomes lighter and more flexible. You approach people without prejudice, tasks without resistance, and challenges without unnecessary fear. This openness allows you to respond to situations based on what they are, not on what they remind you of. Over time, this practice builds emotional freedom. You become less reactive and more present. You stop allowing past events to dictate current emotions. Life begins to feel less repetitive and more alive because you are no longer reliving old experiences in new moments. Each day regains its individuality and meaning. When yesterday is carried into today, the mind becomes a prison. When yesterday is released, the mind becomes a tool. Choosing to start the day without emotional baggage is one of the most powerful gifts you can give yourself. It creates space for clarity, peace, and growth, allowing today to be lived fully, rather than overshadowed by what has already passed. Letting go in the morning is one of the most misunderstood yet most powerful practices for mental clarity. Many people believe that holding on gives them control, but in reality, holding on often gives stress more control over them. When the day begins with a mind tightly gripping expectations, worries, and outcomes, clarity disappears. The mind becomes crowded before the day even unfolds. Letting go at the start of the day is not about carelessness or indifference. It is about creating inner space so that the mind can function with awareness and balance. In the early hours of the morning, the mind is naturally quieter and more receptive. This is the best time to consciously release unnecessary mental weight. Worries about things that are not yet in your control, assumptions about how people will behave, and pressure about how the day must go all steal mental energy. When these thoughts are carried into the day, they constantly demand attention, pulling focus away from what truly needs to be done. Letting go clears this mental clutter, allowing attention to settle where it is most useful. Clarity arises when the mind is not divided. A mind that is holding on is always negotiating internally. What if this goes wrong? What if that person reacts badly? What if I fail again? These inner negotiations create confusion and hesitation. When you let go, you are not giving up effort. You are giving up unnecessary mental noise. With fewer internal distractions, decisions become simpler and actions become more decisive. Letting go also creates emotional stability. Many emotional reactions are not caused by present situations, but by imagined future outcomes or remembered past experiences. By releasing these mental projections in the morning, you prevent emotional overload later in the day. You approach situations with neutrality instead of prejudice, with curiosity instead of fear. This emotional balance makes it easier to adapt when plans change or challenges arise. Another powerful effect of letting go is increased focus. When the mind is not burdened by expectations, it can fully engage with one task at a time. Productivity improves not because you are working harder, but because you are working with presence. Tasks feel lighter and even difficult work feels more manageable. The energy that was previously wasted on worry is now available for meaningful action. Letting go in the morning also improves relationships. When you release assumptions about how others should behave, you listen more openly and respond more patiently. Conversations become less reactive and more respectful. This inner clarity reflects outwardly, creating smoother interactions and fewer misunderstandings throughout the day. But over time, practicing letting go transforms your inner environment. You begin to trust yourself more and control less. You realize that clarity does not come from predicting or managing every outcome, but from being mentally present and emotionally grounded. Each morning becomes a reset point, an opportunity to begin with openness rather than tension. By choosing to let go at the start of the day, you are not losing direction. You are gaining clarity. The mind becomes spacious, focused, and calm, ready to meet the day as it is rather than as you fear or expect it to be. A positive mindset is often misunderstood as ignoring problems or pretending that everything is fine. In reality, it is the opposite. It is the ability to look at life clearly without allowing difficulties to overwhelm your inner balance. When you begin the day with a positive mindset, you are not denying challenges. You are choosing how you will respond to them. This distinction is crucial because denial weakens awareness, while conscious response strengthens it. Life naturally brings uncertainty, pressure, and unexpected obstacles. A positive mindset does not remove these elements, but it prevents them from dominating your thoughts and emotions. When the mind is trained to respond rather than react, it pauses before jumping to conclusions. This pause creates space for wisdom. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" The mind asks, "What is required from me in this moment?" That shift alone changes frustration into responsibility and fear into focus. Denial often comes from avoidance. It pushes problems aside, hoping they will disappear on their own. But unaddressed problems grow heavier with time. A positive mindset, however, acknowledges reality fully. It accepts the presence of difficulty while refusing to let it define the entire day. You recognize the challenge, assess it calmly, and then decide your next step without emotional chaos clouding judgment. This mindset also protects emotional health. When reality is denied, suppressed emotions eventually surface as stress, anger, or burnout. By facing situations honestly and choosing a constructive response, emotions remain balanced. You allow yourself to feel, but you do not allow feelings to control your actions. This emotional maturity is what turns positivity into strength rather than weakness. Another important aspect of response over denial is self-awareness. A positive mindset includes recognizing your limits. It allows you to admit when you are tired, confused, or in need of support. Denial pretends everything is under control, while true positivity says, "This is difficult, but I will handle it step by step." This honesty builds resilience because it is grounded in reality. Choosing response also improves problem solving. When the mind is calm, solutions become visible. Stress narrows perspective, but a positive mindset expands it. You begin to see multiple options instead of feeling trapped. Even when a solution is not immediately available, patience increases. You stop forcing outcomes and start focusing on effort, which is the only thing truly within your control. In daily interactions, this mindset changes communication. Instead of reacting defensively to criticism or disagreement, you listen with openness. You may not agree, but you respond thoughtfully rather than emotionally. This reduces conflict and builds mutual respect. People sense the steadiness, and it often encourages calmer interactions in return. Over time, practicing this mindset reshapes how you experience life. Problems no longer feel like personal failures, but like part of the human journey. You stop resisting reality and start working with it. This does not make life perfect, but it makes it manageable and meaningful. A positive mindset is not about escaping reality. It is about engaging with it wisely. By choosing your response instead of denying what is happening, you maintain clarity, strength, and inner peace, regardless of the challenges the day brings. When the mind is calm and aware, problems do not disappear, but their power over you weakens significantly. Many difficulties feel overwhelming not because they are too big, but because the mind approaches them in a state of agitation. A restless mind exaggerates obstacles, imagines worst-case outcomes, and drains emotional energy before any action is taken. Calm awareness changes this inner experience. It allows you to see problems for what they are, not for what fear makes them appear to be. A calm mind creates psychological distance between you and the problem. Instead of identifying yourself with the difficulty, you begin to observe it. This shift is subtle but powerful. When you observe a problem rather than merge with it emotionally, clarity emerges. You stop saying, "This problem is ruining me," and start saying, "This is a situation I need to handle." The problem remains, but it no longer defines your state of mind. Awareness brings perspective. Many problems feel urgent, but not all of them are important. In a stress state, everything seems equally critical, which leads to panic and poor decision making. Calm awareness helps you prioritize. You begin to recognize what needs immediate attention and what can wait. This reduces unnecessary pressure and prevents mental exhaustion. Another important effect of calm awareness is emotional regulation. Strong emotions like anger, fear, or frustration often amplify problems. A small issue, when mixed with intense emotion, can feel unbearable. When you are aware of emotional state, you notice these feelings as they arise instead of being swept away by them. This awareness does not suppress emotions, it softens their intensity. As emotions settle, problems appear more manageable. Calm awareness also improves problem-solving ability. When the mind is agitated, it tends to repeat the same thoughts without finding solutions. In contrast, a calm mind is creative and flexible. It can explore different approaches and consider long-term consequences. Even if a solution is not immediately available, patience increases, allowing you to stay engaged without frustration. This inner calm affects how you interact with others during challenging situations. Instead of reacting impulsively, you communicate with clarity and respect. This often de-escalates tension and invites cooperation. Problems involving people rarely improve through force or emotional reactions. They improve through understanding and steady communication, which calm awareness naturally supports. Over time, practicing calm awareness builds inner strength. You realize that while you cannot control every situation, you can control the space within which you respond. This realization reduces fear of future problems because you trust your ability to handle them with balance. Challenges become opportunities to practice stability rather than sources of constant stress. When problems lose their emotional charge, they lose much of their power. Calm awareness does not promise an easy life, but it offers a stable inner ground from which life can be navigated wisely. With this inner steadiness, difficulties remain part of the journey, but they no longer dominate your peace or direction. Winning the day is often misunderstood as having everything go according to plan. Many people measure a good day by smooth events, quick success, and the absence of problems. But life rarely follows a perfect script. If success depended on everything going right, most days would feel like failures as high as in. True victory in a day is not about controlling events. It is about maintaining inner balance when events do not cooperate. Every day brings moments of disruption, unexpected delays, misunderstandings, mistakes, or disappointments. These moments test emotional stability. When the mind is unprepared, even a small setback can trigger frustration, anger, or discouragement. The day then feels ruined, not because of the problem itself, but because of the emotional reaction to it. Staying centered means allowing challenges to exist without allowing them to disturb your inner ground. Centering begins with awareness. When something goes wrong, the first reaction is usually emotional. The body tenses, the mind rushes, and judgment becomes harsh. Staying centered does not mean suppressing this reaction. It means noticing it without being controlled by it. This moment of awareness creates a pause. In that pause, you regain choice. You can respond with patience instead of impulse, with understanding instead of blame. A centered mind does not waste energy on resistance. It accepts that difficulty is part of life and stops asking, "Why is this happening?" Acceptance does not mean liking the situation. It means recognizing reality as it is. This acceptance prevents emotional struggle from adding to the problem. When the mind stops fighting what already exists, it frees energy to deal with what can be changed. Staying centered also helps preserve perspective. One difficult moment does not define the entire day, but an uncentered reaction often makes it feel that way. Emotions take over. The mind defies the problem and ignores everything else. A centered mind, however, sees the day as a whole. It understands that one setback is just one part of a much larger picture. This inner stability influences behavior. When centered, you speak more thoughtfully, act more responsibly, and avoid unnecessary conflict. You are less likely to say things you later regret or make decisions based on temporary emotions. This steady behavior often leads to better outcomes even in difficult situations. Staying centered also builds self-trust. Each time you handle a challenge without losing balance, confidence grows. You begin to believe in your ability to face uncertainty with maturity. This confidence reduces fear of future difficulties because you know that even if things go wrong, you will remain grounded. Over time, this approach changes how you define success. A successful day becomes one where you stayed calm, acted with integrity, and remained present regardless of external results. This definition is empowering because it places success within your control. When you stay centered during difficulties, you win something far more valuable than comfort. You win inner strength, and that strength quietly transforms ordinary days into meaningful victories, even when circumstances are imperfect. A mindful morning has a quiet but lasting influence on how you move through the rest of the day. When the day begins with awareness, the mind becomes less reactive and more intentional. This inner shift may not be visible from the outside, but it deeply shapes how you respond to situations, make decisions, and connect with people. Reactivity often comes from rushing and unconscious habits, while mindfulness brings space, patience, and clarity into everyday actions. When mornings are rushed, the mind carries that urgency into every interaction. Conversations become hurried, listening becomes shallow, and responses are driven by impulse rather than understanding. A mindful morning slows the inner pace. Even if the outer schedule is busy, the mind remains steady. This steadiness allows you to listen fully when someone speaks, rather than preparing a reply or making assumptions. Being truly heard is rare, and when you offer that presence, relationships naturally improve. Decision-making is also strongly affected by the quality of your morning awareness. An uncentered mind tends to choose based on fear, pressure, or the desire for quick relief. These decisions may feel satisfying in the moment, but often lead to regret later. A mindful morning grounds you in clarity. You become more aware of your values and priorities, which guide your choices throughout the day. Decisions then align more closely with long-term well-being rather than short-term emotion. Mindfulness in the morning also reduces emotional reactivity. When challenges arise, you are less likely to react defensively or emotionally. Instead of responding automatically, you pause. This pause is powerful. It allows you to choose words carefully, consider consequences, and respond with maturity. In difficult conversations, this can prevent misunderstandings and conflict. Over time, people notice that you handle situations with calmness, which builds trust and respect. In daily tasks, a mindful start improves focus and efficiency. When the mind is scattered, work feels exhausting even if it is not physically demanding. With awareness, attention stays on one task at a time. This reduces mistakes and increases the quality of effort. You may find that you complete work more smoothly, not because you are working longer hours, but because you are fully present in what you are doing. Relationships benefit greatly from this inner presence. Mindfulness allows you to notice emotional cues in others, tone, body language, and unspoken feelings. This sensitivity helps you respond with empathy rather than judgment. Small gestures of patience and understanding accumulate, strengthening connections over time. A mindful morning also encourages better self-regulation. You become aware of your own limits, knowing when to pause, rest, or step back. This prevents burnout and emotional fatigue. Instead of pushing yourself blindly, you act with balance. Over time, this practice reshapes daily life. Reactions soften, decisions become wiser, and relationships grow healthier. All of this begins with a simple choice each morning, to be present. That presence quietly guides every action that follows, creating a day that feels more intentional, meaningful, and aligned. Small, consistent mindset shifts in the morning have a calming effect that can transform a person's life over time. Many people underestimate the power of small habits because their impact is not immediate or dramatic. However, the mind is like soil, and thoughts planted daily grow into deeply rooted patterns. What you choose to think in the early hours of each day influences your behavior, emotions, and decisions. And over weeks and months, these repeated choices create lasting transformation. Every morning presents an opportunity to choose thoughts consciously. A simple practice, pausing to focus on gratitude, setting an intention for the day, or affirming a positive mindset, might seem minor, but the repetition of these practices wires the brain toward optimism, focus, and resilience. The mind becomes trained to notice opportunities rather than problems, to seek solutions rather than dwell on complaints, and to respond rather than react. These small shifts do not guarantee perfection, but they guarantee growth. Consistency is key. A single morning of positivity or mindfulness may not make a huge difference, just as one workout does not build lasting strength. But when repeated daily, small shifts accumulate, gradually rewiring your emotional and mental responses. Over time, a person begins to notice that challenges no longer feel insurmountable, that patience comes more naturally, and that focus becomes easier to maintain. This compounding effect is subtle but profound, influencing every aspect of life. Another important aspect is momentum. Mornings set the tone for the entire day, so starting with small intentional shifts creates a ripple effect. A ripple effect? When the mind begins the day with clarity, gratitude, or calm determination, this energy carries into interactions, work, and decision making. A single unhelpful thought or reactive habit at the start can derail the day, but a conscious mindset shift creates forward momentum, making subsequent choices easier and more aligned with long-term goals. These shifts also strengthen self-discipline and awareness. Each morning choice is a micro-decision. Will I dwell on fear or focus on possibilities? Will I carry yesterday's burdens or start fresh? Will I react impulsively or pause and respond thoughtfully? Answering these questions consistently builds the skill of self-mastery. The person learns that their inner state is not dictated by external circumstances, but by deliberate choices made moment. Moreover, a small morning mindset changes influence relationships and social interactions. A calm, positive, and aware start makes you more present and empathetic toward others. Over time, people notice your steadiness, patience, and clarity. These subtle shifts in behavior, originating from internal mindset changes, strengthen bonds and improve communication, often without conscious effort. The cumulative effect of small daily shifts also enhances resilience. Life will continue to present obstacles, but a mind trained to respond intentionally rather than react emotionally is better equipped to handle them. Problems no longer feel like personal attacks, setbacks become lessons rather than sources of discouragement, and stress is managed rather than amplified. The person develops the ability to navigate life with greater balance and confidence. Ultimately, these small, consistent shifts prove that transformation does not come from grand gestures, but from tiny, intentional choices repeated over time. By choosing how you think each morning, you are planting seeds that grow into habits, character, and a life shaped by conscious decisions rather than circumstances. The power of compounding in the mind is immense, and it all begins with the simple act of choosing your mindset first thing in the morning. Consistent morning intentions do more than improve a single day. They shape the trajectory of your entire life. Each day is like a building block, and the thoughts, attitudes, and choices you cultivate early in the morning act as the foundation for everything that follows. When you start your day with purpose and awareness, you are not just influencing the next few hours, you are gradually constructing a life of clarity, focus, and resilience. The impact of these small, repeated choices compounds over time, creating profound personal growth. The first moments after waking are uniquely influential because the mind is fresh, less distracted, and highly receptive. Habits formed in this window are more likely to stick because they set the tone before external distractions take over. If the morning begins with negative thoughts, complaints, or stress, these patterns can dominate the rest of the day, reinforcing a cycle of frustration or defeat. Conversely, starting with intentional, positive, and constructive thoughts builds mental patterns that favor growth and productivity. The consistent repetition of such patterns strengthens neural pathways, making it easier to maintain focus and positivity throughout the day. Consistency in morning intentions also reinforces self-discipline. Each day you are faced with choices. to react impulsively to the day's demands or to respond thoughtfully, to dwell on past mistakes or to focus on present possibilities, to surrender to anxiety or to cultivate calm and clarity. Choosing the latter repeatedly is an exercise in self-mastery. Over time, the mind becomes trained to default to awareness and intentionality, reducing the energy wasted on reactive or unproductive thinking. Life becomes less chaotic, not because circumstances change, but because your internal responses become steady and resilient. The ripple effect of consistent morning intentions extends beyond your inner world. When you are mentally present and emotionally balanced, your interactions with others improve. Colleagues, family members, and friends sense your steadiness, patience, and clarity. Communication becomes more effective, relationships become smoother, and trust grows naturally. Small shifts in your mindset, repeated daily, gradually influence your social environment, creating a positive feedback loop. Your environment responds to your mindset, reinforcing your internal state. Furthermore, consistent morning intentions strengthen emotional resilience. Life inevitably presents obstacles, disappointments, and challenges. When your mindset is consistently aligned at the start of the day, you are better equipped to navigate these difficulties without being overwhelmed. Stress no longer dictates your actions, setbacks become opportunities to learn, and you maintain perspective even in challenging circumstances. The mind learns to face adversity with composure, transforming daily struggles into exercises in growth and self-improvement. Another profound effect of daily intentionality is clarity of purpose. When the first moments of the day are spent reflecting, setting goals, or visualizing positive outcomes, your actions align more closely with long-term aspirations. Distractions and trivial concerns take less hold, and decision-making becomes more deliberate. Over weeks and months, this alignment ensures that the majority of your efforts contribute meaningfully to your personal and professional growth rather than being scattered or reactive. Consistency also builds confidence. Each morning, by choosing your mindset intentionally, you prove to yourself that you are capable of directing your own thoughts and actions. This repeated self-affirmation strengthens your belief in your ability to handle challenges, maintain focus, and achieve goals. Confidence, once built through small daily choices, naturally extends into every area of life, empowering you to take on bigger challenges without fear or hesitation. Over time, the compound effect of consistent morning intentions transforms ordinary habits into life-changing patterns. A single morning of intention may not seem significant, but repeated across weeks, months, and years, it creates a life characterized by mental clarity, emotional stability, focused action, and meaningful relationships. What begins as a simple choice to set your mindset intentionally becomes the foundation for long-term success and fulfillment. Ultimately, by committing to consistent morning intentions, you take ownership of your life, one day at a time. You acknowledge that while circumstances may be unpredictable, your responses are within your control. Each day becomes a deliberate step forward, a conscious building block in the life you aspire to create. Through this practice, the mornings are no longer just beginnings. They become powerful instruments of transformation, shaping not only how you live today, but how you live your entire life. A morning mindset shapes not only how you handle the events of the day, but also how you perceive yourself. The first moments after waking are a unique window of opportunity to influence your self-perception, which in turn affects confidence, motivation, and overall effectiveness. When you consciously cultivate a positive and intentional mindset in the morning, you are essentially setting the narrative of who you are for the day. This early narrative has a profound impact on your decisions, interactions, and resilience. Self-perception is often shaped unconsciously by external circumstances or past experiences. If you wake up replaying failures, criticisms, or regrets, your mind internalizes those narratives as truths. You may find yourself thinking, "I always fail," or "I'm not good enough," before you even step out of bed. These thoughts act like invisible anchors, influencing how you act and react throughout the day. By consciously choosing to start the day with positive and constructive thoughts, you are actively writing that narrative. You remind yourself of your capabilities, strengths, and potential, which builds confidence before any external validation occurs. When the morning begins with a mindset focused on possibilities rather than limitations, it changes how challenges are approached. A strong self-perception allows you to see obstacles as opportunities for growth rather than threats to your competence or worth. Instead of being paralyzed by fear or self-doubt, you approach problems with a sense of capability. This shift is subtle yet powerful because the mind responds to the internal story you tell yourself. Confidence cultivated in the morning guides your decisions, your communication, and your ability to stay composed under pressure. Morning self-perception also impacts motivation. When you view yourself capable and resilient, you are naturally more inclined to take action. Motivation is not a force that simply appears. It is the result of your internal narrative and mindset. Starting the day with affirmations, intentions, or reflections on your abilities energizes the mind and body. You approach tasks with curiosity, determination, and purpose rather than obligation or fear. This proactive energy often carries you through challenges that might have otherwise felt overwhelming. This mindset also enhances emotional stability. People with a clear and positive self-perception are less likely to be swayed by criticism, setbacks, or unexpected difficulties. They perceive challenges as external events to navigate rather than as reflections of personal inadequacy. By starting the day with a strong sense of self-worth, you protect your emotional energy from unnecessary drain. You become less reactive and more thoughtful, allowing calmness and reason to guide your behavior. Moreover, consistent reinforcement of positive self-perception in the morning gradually rewires your habitual thinking. The mind begins to default to competence, resilience, and possibility instead of doubt and fear. This builds a durable inner confidence that extends beyond mornings into the rest of the day and ultimately into long-term behavior. Over time, the repeated practice strengthens your identity in a way that supports personal growth, better decision-making, and healthier relationships. Another crucial aspect is the influence on interactions with others. When you perceive yourself positively, it naturally affects how you engage with people. You communicate with clarity, assertiveness, and empathy because your self-confidence creates a stable foundation. You are less defensive, less reactive, and more capable of offering support, guidance, or constructive feedback. Relationships improve not because circumstances change, but because your presence and behavior reflect a strong internal mindset. Finally, cultivating self-perception in the morning aligns your day with long-term goals. By starting with a mindset that emphasizes capability, focus, and resilience, each action and decision throughout the day contributes to building the person you want to become. The mind interprets these consistent choices as evidence of competence and growth, creating a reinforcing cycle that slowly but steadily transforms both your day and your life. In essence, the self-perception you nurture each morning is the foundation for confidence, motivation, emotional stability, and effective action. By consciously choosing to affirm your capabilities and potential early in the day, you not only improve your performance today, but also cultivate the habits, resilience, and identity that shape your future. The morning mindset in this way becomes a powerful architect of your self-image and ultimately your life trajectory. A morning mindset functions like a compass, subtly directing the path of your day. Just as a compass provides orientation in a dense forest, your mental state in the first moments after waking sets the direction for your thoughts, emotions, and actions. When the mind is intentionally guided in the morning, it provides clarity on priorities, focus, and approach, which makes navigating the day smoother even when challenges arise. Without this internal compass, it is easy to drift through the day, reacting impulsively to circumstances rather than moving purposefully toward desired outcomes. The mind, when left unguided, tends to follow habit, distraction, or external demands. Emails, messages, news, and notifications quickly hijack attention, dictating your mood and priorities before you even have a chance to reflect. Small frustrations can seem larger, decisions can feel urgent or confusing, and the sense of being behind can dominate your morning. An intentionally set mindset acts as a guide, ensuring that the first impressions of the day are self-determined rather than imposed by the environment. This early guidance influences how energy is spent, which tasks receive focus, and how interactions unfold. A clear mental direction also enhances productivity. When the morning begins with intention, setting goals, reflecting on priorities, or culting on priorities, the mind knows where to channel energy. Instead of being reactive and scattered, attention is allocated deliberately. Tasks that once seemed overwhelming or tedious become manageable because the mind approaches them with purpose rather than distraction. Over time, this disciplined alignment builds efficiency and reduces the exhaustion that comes from mental chaos. The morning compass also strengthens decision-making. Life constantly presents choices, large and small. A mind trained to start the day with clarity evaluates options more effectively, considering consequences rather than reacting impulsively. Even when unexpected challenges appear, the ability to pause, assess, and choose wisely is a direct result of starting the day with intentional guidance. The clarity achieved in the morning acts as a mental anchor throughout the day, preventing reactive or emotional decision-making. Another important aspect is emotional regulation. When the mind has a clear sense of direction, minor annoyances and unexpected setbacks lose disproportionate power over your emotions. Challenges are seen as tasks to navigate rather than threats that disrupt equilibrium. The calmness and focus cultivated in the morning carry forward, allowing for measured responses instead of impulsive reactions. This steadiness not only improves personal effectiveness but also positively influences interactions with others. Having a mental compass also cultivates resilience. Life is unpredictable, and the day rarely unfolds exactly as planned. A mind grounded in intention and clarity navigates these shifts with greater ease. Obstacles are approached strategically rather than with panic or frustration. Even setbacks provide opportunities to adjust course, learn, and adapt. Because the mind is oriented toward direction rather than simply reacting to circumstance. Over time, this repeated practice strengthens adaptability and confidence in handling uncertainty. Furthermore, setting a morning compass improves long-term alignment with goals and values. When each day begins with clear priorities, choices, and actions consistently reinforce personal objectives rather than being dictated by distractions or reactive impulses. This cumulative effect transforms days into progress, turning consistent daily direction into long-term achievement and personal growth. Ultimately, the morning mindset functions as an internal compass, providing orientation, clarity, and focus. It influences productivity, decision-making, emotional stability, resilience, and long-term alignment. By deliberately choosing your mental direction each morning, you ensure that your day and eventually your life is guided by purpose rather than chance. This simple but profound practice turns the start of the day into a tool for consistent personal transformation and meaningful progress. Consistently choosing your mindset each morning is one of the most powerful habits for long-term life transformation. Every day offers a fresh opportunity to decide how you will perceive, respond to, and engage with the world. These small, deliberate choices might seem insignificant in isolation, but over time they accumulate, creating patterns of thought, behavior, and character that define your life. The mind operates like a garden. Whatever you plant and nurture consistently will grow. Positive, intentional morning habits are the seeds of personal growth, resilience, and long-term success. When you consciously choose your mindset in the morning, you are effectively taking control of the day before external circumstances have a chance to dominate it. Life is inherently unpredictable, and challenges, distractions, or setbacks will inevitably arise. However, by starting the day with awareness, gratitude, and focus, you set an internal tone that influences how you perceive and respond to events. A single moment of intentional thought may not change everything immediately, but repeated daily practice gradually rewires the mind to default to clarity, patience, and resilience. This consistent choice also strengthens self-discipline. Each morning, you face small but crucial decisions. Will you dwell on yesterday's mistakes or approach today as a fresh opportunity? Will you react to circumstances impulsively or respond thoughtfully? Will you focus on what you lack or on what is possible? By consistently choosing awareness and constructive thought patterns, you train the mind to default to intentionality rather than distraction. Over time, this practice becomes an ingrained habit, reducing mental chaos and improving your ability to navigate challenges effectively. Morning mindset choices also shape emotional patterns. The mind naturally responds to perceived threats, stresses, and uncertainties. If left unchecked, negative emotions from previous days, external pressures, or imagined fears can dominate the day. By intentionally starting with clarity, optimism, and focus, you prevent these emotional currents from controlling your actions. This emotional regulation allows you to face challenges calmly, maintain better relationships, and make more rational decisions. Over months and years, the mind learns to respond rather than react, which becomes a cornerstone of emotional intelligence. Another profound effect of this practice is the cultivation of long-term resilience. Life will always present obstacles, setbacks, and disappointments. A person who consistently begins the day with a positive, intentional mindset approaches these challenges with composure and perspective. Difficulties are no longer overwhelming. They become opportunities to practice problem solving, patience, and adaptability. Over time, this resilience compounds, creating a mental and emotional strength that becomes a defining characteristic of the individual. Consistency in morning mindset also impacts productivity and goal achievement. When the mind begins the day aligned with purpose, priorities become clear. Distractions lose power, and attention is focused on meaningful action rather than reactive tasks. Small repeated actions directed by intentional thought gradually accumulate, producing significant results over months and years. Success, in this sense, is not a single achievement, but the outcome of sustained alignment between mindset, intention, and action. Additionally, the ripple effect of a positive morning mindset extends to relationships and social interactions. When you start the day centered and aware, you engage with others more thoughtfully, communicate more clearly, and respond to conflicts with patience rather than defensiveness. These subtle shifts strengthen bonds and foster trust, creating environments that are supportive rather than draining. The compound effect of consistently showing up in this way builds stronger personal and professional networks over time. Ultimately, the practice of choosing your mindset each morning transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary. What begins as a simple habit, pausing, reflecting, setting intention, evolves into a powerful force that shapes your thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and life outcomes. By investing in these small, consistent choices, you take ownership of your life's direction, turning each day into a deliberate step toward growth, resilience, and fulfillment. The mornings, once overlooked, become the foundation for lasting personal transformation, proving that the smallest decisions, repeated consistently, hold the greatest power.